Hey guys, copy is one of the most important parts of your business. We've talked about it in past videos and we're gonna talk about it in future ones, which is why hiring a copywriter is the most important hire that you're gonna have to do in your business. And today, I'm gonna tell you how to do it right. I have so many clients come to me all the time when they know they have to hire their first copywriter because they understand it's a really big job. And if it goes wrong, not only are you gonna be out a lot of money, you're also gonna be out conversions and being able to put your offer out there and acquire new customers. Because of that, a lot of people like to keep their copy super close to the vest, do it themselves, but that's gonna limit your ability to scale oftentimes, especially if you're not a world-class copywriter, which to be fair, there's not a ton of them out there. So that being said, we're gonna cover the things that you need to do to hire the right copywriter for your business and your offer. Starting off first with, where do you find them? That's a common one. A lot of people are going to places like Fiverr. They might ask a friend. They might go to some sort of Facebook group, but sometimes it can be really hard to find a copywriter. They're not just, there's not a store somewhere where I could go down and say, hey, I'd like to pick up a copywriter here. One of the things that we do is obviously build up a Rolodex with past people we've worked with, past copywriters who have done a good job, and through a referral network. But the place that's been easiest is going to a trusted trainer that has a group of copywriters that you could utilize. The one that we prefer the most, and I prefer the most, is Stefan Georgi and Justin Goff have a Copy Accelerator group where they train what I think is some of the best direct response copywriters, and they actually have a link that we'll post in the description below that you could submit your budget, your copy needs, and you'll get an amazingly trained copywriter to run, or at least to interview and essentially do the copy for you, which is an amazing benefit. And I can tell you, a place where you know you're getting good training is gonna reduce the chances that you're gonna have a bad copywriting experience. The lower form is going to a place like Fiverr. You're gonna pay less, but that means the variability of what kind of copy you're gonna be will be massive. Maybe you get somebody at a great discount, and that's awesome. The diamond in the rough of a new baby copywriter that's just trying to get business. More likely though, you're gonna get a lot of really untrained bad copy, and I'm sorry I hit this tree here, but it's something where it's gonna not be very good for you, and you're probably just gonna go, I can't believe I wasted money on this. There's a lot more of those there, but of course the price point's gonna be a lot lower. And referrals could be hard if you're trying to get a copywriter from people that aren't doing the same type of copy that you are. That's why I really recommend, like I said, that link with Copy Accelerator, or there's also Copy Chief. That's another group. Find some of these groups where top copywriters happen to live and hire through there. Now, once you've selected somebody to hire though, that's kind of where this whole process really begins. And the big part of it is you need to have some sort of test. This isn't a standard job interview. Obviously you want to talk and understand that, and we'll get to understand who you're working with. We'll get to that in a second. But more importantly, give them a low price point test or some sort of process where they're going to be able to give you some copy that's going to be low risk and low cost, but you could see how they perform and actually see results. Whenever I hired a copywriter, I always did email swipes. So we had a lot of email traffic. We did in-house and we did affiliate emails. So I was always needing email copy. It's something we're not in short supply of. So I'd have them write an email for every different offer that we have, getting 5 emails, and then test it out to the audience against controls that we already knew were working. If they couldn't beat our controls, that's not a copywriter I want to work with. But I'm only spending $500 for that test. On the flip side, if they end up beating the controls and we get a really good performing email swipe, now I already, not only do I have a good ROI on those email swipes, I now know that this copywriter understands the voice, understands the product at some level that I could feel assurance that they're going to be able to write a sales page for me. Another test that you could do if you don't have email or swipes and you're trying to hire a copywriter, this is actually Mary Ellen Trimbley, who runs a really large manifestation meditation offer. What she does with her copywriters to test them is after they interview, just see, hey, we mesh well, I like talking to you, you seem like somebody that I could interact and work with. She'll actually have them write a review convincing her to read either a recent book that they've read or watch a movie that they've had, and no other directions on that. No timelines as well of when they would send it to her. Super, super important that there are no timelines. So what would happen is these are writers that need to persuade. So you get a really good example of how well they could do that in a pure standpoint, right? If they have a book that they said they're gonna recommend, well, they better be able to figure out how to structure some sort of review to convince you to read that book. And if they can't do it with something they love, they definitely can't do it with your product. The other reason why she would do no timeline is that shows how hungry the copywriter is. If they're not going to get hired and you say, hey, well, I'll make the decision after I receive that, and they take a week and a half to get you a review versus somebody that does it that night, you're going to have a really good idea of who's hungry and who's ready to work for you and what kind of turnaround times you're going to be. If they're going to take forever for an assignment that easy, how serious are they going to take your copy and meeting your deadlines versus the person that turns around and does it right away? So that's a big one, is you need to have some sort of test, whether it's doing what Mary Ellen does, whether it's doing with email swipes, which would be my preference. You need some way to actually see the results, because whatever they have in their portfolio, you don't know the results on. And the other thing is, you don't necessarily know that it's theirs all the time. They can be going and grabbing websites they know they're doing well and say, I did this, because copy, it's not like there's a signature at the bottom of every single page of who wrote it. So if you don't know who wrote it, anybody could make claim to that unless, at least trying to get a job. And so that's a really scary place. And that's why you want to build some sort of test in there to make sure that they are who they say they are, as Dennis Green would say for the Arizona Cardinals. A little sport reference if you want to YouTube that fun little clip. RIP for him. So once you have the test, the next part that's really important with copywriters and setting up a contract that works for everybody is creating a performance incentive. And what I mean by that is not just the initial page that they write for you, but how are they going to improve on that, and how are you going to incentivize them to do so? One of the most common ones is just bonus payouts. So you're going to give them a flat fee when you start off, right? You're going to say, here's half of that flat fee now, here's half when the page is done, but then create performance incentives based on how many sales the page gets to. So if they get to 10,000 sales, I'm going to give you a $2,000 bonus, or a $5,000 bonus, or $10,000, depending on whatever you paid in the initial. Giving some sort of 25% of that for each bonus tier is going to keep the copywriter wanting to continue to write. Why that's so valuable is oftentimes you're going to have a copywriter that's really skilled. They might understand the offer, but they're going to try things in their marketing, and when they write the page, they might not work. They might not convert as well as you want them to. And where they've completed and met their end of the bargain in terms of getting you a sales page and copy, you want to have some sort of incentive where if say it's not getting as high as conversions as they want, they're going to come back and want to engage with you and say, let's try this headline. Let me try a new lead. Let me try and improve and optimize the upsell flows that I wrote for you. So we could improve that performance. We could continue to get it going, because I want to get those extra 10,000 sales so I could get my bonus. I want to get that extra 50,000 sales to get my bonus. And you're going to create an open kind of collaboration with that copywriter to continue to improve the offer. Versus if you have no performance incentive, their only incentive is to effectively finish the page. What happens after that, they have no investment into it except for their reputation. Again, some people will still do that because they care about the reputation, but when you create a performance incentive, they're going to care that extra little bit more because there's money behind it. The last thing too, just to kind of know when you're hiring these copywriters, it's super, super important outside of where you get them from, that it's a good source, that you've tested them, and that you have a performance incentive, is just remember that even the best copywriters do not bat 1,000. Be prepared and discuss in your negotiations. If it doesn't work, what happens next? If the first page comes out and it just bombs and it does worse than your control, or it's just not converting at all in terms of what you needed, you need to state that and figure that out in the contract piece of what their involvement's going to be. So that's not necessarily a performance thing. That's just that, hey, if this doesn't work, what are we going to do? Are you going to come back and write me a new page for no additional cost? Are you going to give me back a refund if it just doesn't work? You need to have some of those things in place to make sure that you protect yourself and the copywriter, so you just end up hating everybody. Because I can't tell you how many times people don't have a structure like that in place. A page of copy doesn't necessarily work out, and an offer owner end up feeling like, well, copywriters are all stupid, I'd never hire one. That is not the right answer, and that's not what's going to grow your business. You need to understand that even the best copywriters aren't perfect, so build a program that kind of has a contract that is going to work with that. Last tidbit that I want to mention that's super important when you're hiring a copywriter is set them up for success. What I mean by that is make sure that you're giving them assets, you're giving them testimonials, you're giving them a proven product and a lot of resources through stories, like I said, testimonials, through previous marketing hooks that have worked. The more research that you have and the more assets that you give them, the more likely they're going to be successful. I have seen plenty of people just say, here's my product, go do all the research. You're leaving so much variability for an offer to fail when you have actual assets that could make it better. So give them everything you can and you think they might need, as well as give them the ability to ask for more if that's what they need. The more assets and resources your copywriter has, the more likely they're gonna nail the copy on the first go round, and you don't have to have that failure that we talked about, where even the best copywriter can't make, mustard out of beans. So you gotta make sure you line those things up right. So again, we'll just go through all the things. You wanna make sure you go to the right source when you're hiring a copywriter, probably stay a little bit away from your Fivers and try and find more secure places like Copy Accelerator to get them. You wanna make sure you create some sort of test, whether it's emails or if it's some sort of other writing test that's gonna be straight to you, to decide and prove that the copywriter can actually write in a way that you think is gonna work. Next, you need to create some performance incentives for them to really keep them optimized and keep it working for you, and also structure a contract in a way that you guys both can understand what happens when it doesn't work. And finally, giving them all the assets that they need to succeed so you can get the best copy the first time. If you do all that, you're gonna help continue to grow your business, get the right copywriters in place, and I mean, gosh, from there, it's just a rocket ship to the moon. So with that, guys, make sure to subscribe today so you continue to get great content like this as we continue to talk about things that are gonna make your business grow. Have a good one. Bye.